Hi, it's me again with Corel Tips and Tricks, and this is part 2. I happen to pick a C that is not equal across this distance, and that it still could be done, but it would take you some extra effort. Like this is 2.69, where this is 2.74. Well, I made the C 2.74 by 2.74 just to make it better. So you would really want to do this first, and if you didn't watch part 1, you'd want to do this part first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this thing, well, I need to get the other one back to make it equal, because this one is the one that's unequal. I am going to Control D and make a duplicate, and I'm going to mirror it. And I'm going to make my mirrored copy red. Now this does change the characteristic of the C a little bit, but I don't think anybody's going to know or care. So I'm going to use the red on this end and the black on this end. So I need to delete, well, I don't need to delete but about 2 of these lines. The ones that are really close aren't going to really matter, but that's why I say you need to do this first. And then we're going to take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in. And that's going to be our new shape. So if you watched part 1 and you plan on doing this, do this first before you measure that curve, because I did change it. Now we're going to take a parallel dimension tool. We're going to measure this, 2.74, 2.74. That's going to make life a lot easier to make both ends perfect. So if you remember, we made a living hinge to make the inside. Now we need to make the tabs on this thing, and we're going to use 1/8 inch plywood. And you got to kind of think about, you're going to be in the middle, so we're going to draw an 1/8 inch 0.125 square, and we're going to make it a 1/4 inch wide. Okay, we're going to do 2 of them. Okay, so we're going to put that about right in there. Now, if you think about, why do I have such a funny looking line? Let me draw that again. So 0.125 by 0.25. Okay, let's make sure it's a hairline, which it's not. Drawing on somebody else's file. And so now we have this. You've got to think about you're making your joint. So on the ones we make, boy, that looks more like that's a 1/8 of an inch wide. We're making this to fit another piece of wood that's going to go this way. So we need to think about on our next item. So we're going to take this, and what we're going to do, we're going to make these symmetrical. So we're going to put it right to that edge. We're going to make another copy of this and put it to this edge. And then we're going to, so this is going to be our copy to keep. We're going to bring them in. We're going to change our nudge factor to 0.125. And we're going to bring this in 0.125 and bring this one in 0.125, and that's going to be pretty helpful later. Now what we're going to do is take this line and break it apart. Break it apart. So there's our tabs. Now this end, we need to do the exact same thing. And the good thing about this, I did group all this together. But what we're going to have to do is just do the exact same thing on this end. And I really wish I didn't have my living hinge in there so far. You know what? Let's try this. Let's try taking the Smart Fill tool and filling that in. Nudging that down. Left click. No fill. Right click outline. There we go. So now what we can do is basically make it a lot easier and mirror this, Control D and mirror it sideways. But we need to move this over to this corner. So grab that corner and put it there. Now we're equal. Now take the virtual segment delete key and delete these lines. That's making meld tabs. And then what we're going to do is the Smart Fill tool again, fill that in, and that fills all our loose nodes together. We're going to move that out of the way, left click, right click, and there is our new, of course it's got a lot of nodes, but that doesn't really matter in laser engraving. So now I should have done this and put our living hinge into there. I think I can probably go up to object and group and ungroup and see if we can't move our, nope, not gonna let me. Maybe it'll let me grab. There we go. Just grab all that. Now let's group this together. Control G. Let's put our new item in P, put it in the center of the page. Let's get rid of this and put our next group, P, put it in the center of the page. Now our living hinge is perfect. That's exactly what we want. And I'm hoping you're understanding that this is the next piece of wood is going to come here and fit in there, and that's going to be our 1/8 inch space. So this is the thickness of the wood, and this is going to be our flat part. We're actually going to have to make those a little bit bigger. I wasn't thinking about curves. So now we need to take this, and I realize most people, this is not going to help you, but I've got one gentleman that really wants to do this. So 2.74 with our, well, ratio is still a lot, 2.74 by 1 inch. That's our size of our, now this piece, we don't have to put a living hinge in, but it actually probably, you know, if we really think about this, it needs to have females where the males are. You know what? We don't need that. So what we're going to do here, and this will work. Bring this up here and do the Smart Fill tool. What that did, that gave us females where the males are, if you remember. And we can just take this box away. Now, left click, right click, Control D to duplicate it, mirror it the other way, and we don't have to do anything but Smart Fill it again. I don't know why I'm using orange, but there you go. And 2 is a pretty good strength because it's just holding up something 1 inch. Now, I hope this makes sense. That is going to fit right in there. Now, this is something you'll have to test with your kerf to see if this works. I'm trying to zoom in on this joint. This joint could actually be a little bit loose because it's a square, you know, so your kerf, it's going to be a little bit loose. Well, you need 2 of these. So hit the plus sign, and now you've got your 2 end pieces. Now, I'm not going to do the outside. The outside will be exactly the same. And if we look and put this up here, but I am going to do one to figure out where to put the kerf or where to put the tabs. And see, that's going to fit right in there, but going the other direction. So we're good to go. You've got 2 of those. So now you're going to do the exact same thing for the outside, figure out the length of the curve. And by doing that, just take the shape tool and break this apart, right click, break apart, right click, break apart, take your virtual segment delete key. Whoop, we want to do the inside. Now this is our curve. So the next strip, we're going to go to Windows, Dockers, and Properties, and we're going to find out how to curve that. So this curve is 31 point, I'd go 8.9 or 5.9 on your next strip of living hinges. And then everything will be the same. Now the next step might be the hardest part, but it's not that hard. So there's the living hinge and 2 solid pieces. And remember, you need 1 for each end. Now, with that said, I made the letters the same. I didn't really have to do that. You could just, the other one was, let's just do that. So instead of, forget that first part I said, it's not going to change too much. Let's Control D and make a duplicate, where this one is 2.74, the other one was 2.69. It didn't, 2.69. It did not change our tabs. It just changed the total length. And you can see it's just a little bit shorter. So maybe just forget that first part about flipping the C over, because that's pretty easy. So stay tuned for part 3. We're going to figure out how to get the tabs on these pieces. Hope that helped. Thank you for watching.